The crop development in the US and the war in the Middle East, how is that affecting the commodity prices? Jerry Goodell is going to explain all of that and more right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. Jerry, we have had a week with volatile corn and soybeans. We are still having the war in the Middle East in the background, and also the weather in the United States has been impacting a lot the crops.
Exactly. Well, the dryness in the Southwest there continues to be a feature, and we midweek we actually popped over $7 in Kansas City on the July prices, and that influence also was involved in the Western Corn Belt for corn and soybeans. From there, we swung these prices up by Friday as to the kind of recent resistance levels on both of them here on corn and soybeans at this point. The world situation also, I think, played into some of the uncertainty here at this point uh, with at this point, the blockade of the Straits of Hormuz continued on, and that there hasn't been any increased hostilities officially with bombings or things or attacks from either side. But from there, I get, and then uh, the kind of twist that came about here just after the markets closed on Friday was that President Trump declared that the war of hostilities was over. He's going to keep his blockade of the straits, but this is really kind of a play on words, I think, on the situation. Uh, the president officially has 60 days to be declared some kind of military action to do what he's doing, and then he has to come to Congress. Well, guess what? 1st of May here, that was the date that came up here, and he decided that since he hadn't done anything for a few days, that the war had officially from the U.S. side has been over. I guess it'll be interesting if he decides after 5 or 7 days that something happened. He's going to have some kind of military action again. He'll have another 60 days. I think that's his play here at this point. We'll find out if that is the case. But that's also playing into this thing as we go into next week on things. So it's been a volatile, but actually surprisingly uh, uh, building here is the higher cost of energies really took off this last week, and I think that influenced even the grain markets here. We had a big jump in U.S. gasoline prices when the Straits of Hormuz continued to be locked down, and that. And we are also increasing, or entering, I should say, our seasonal increase in U.S. gasoline demand for summer driving and vacations and things like that. So that's, I think, the other factor that came into this market this week that helped give the grain markets a boost.
Yes, and we also have on the background these drought that you mentioned in the Southwest that impacts more of the wheat prices.
Oh, definitely. That there was a shower that happened Thursday night out in West Texas, but it was really localized out near Lubbock, and it wasn't up north of Amarillo. It didn't get anywhere close to the western Kansas, parts of western Oklahoma, and that I think that's definitely that's one thing that's going to be in focus here, particularly with the May USDA numbers. They do issue their first winter wheat production number for 2026. They have updated their plantings level. They haven't really put out a harvested number on winter wheat at this point, which I think is going to be quite interesting here on things with the at this point. But the combination, I think, of heavy uh, graze out because of the cost of that type of gain in that, and there really wasn't anything up until, and wheat prices hadn't really started to be excited about the dryness out there until mid-March or afterwards. And so all of a sudden, I think the U.S. Wheat producers decided they'd just go ahead and graze it out. And so I think that's going to decrease our harvested acres. And also, I think put the pressure on here on yields out here, and really those three major states, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, even Colorado and Nebraska don't look all that great either. And so I'm kind of looking for a winter wheat estimates from uh, in the Southwest to be off 5 or 6 bushels. And that doesn't mean that the soft red is going to slip. I don't know that the white wheat estimates in the South Northwest will either. But I think we're going to tighten this carryover stock estimate that was running around 900 million for the coming year. We're going to take that down over 100. Well, close to 800 to 825. I think that's going to be an interesting level. It's not hugely tightening. We've had some of our best prices. We were out there on carryover stock for wheat in the 700 or less. So we're probably still for away by at least 70 to 80 million from there. So wheat is really going to be the focus on this coming May 12th USDA report from there, because the conditions in the Southwest definitely have turned negative here. We
Well,
did have even
what about corn? Do you think there will be any change in terms of the usage? There will be more corn used for ethanol?
well, and the statistics for the old crop scenario here. We did end up having a good report this week about the usage factors there uh, for ethanol usage. Uh, Previously, the month of February was projected at 425 million bushels. They actually increased that by uh, 5 million to 430 million, and they projected the next month in March up to 300 or by about uh, excuse me, it was up over the general trade estimates by 10 to 15 million. So overall, I think there is a chance that they might see a slight increase in that usage. They're not going to change feed usage. Exports are running very strong. That data this week suggesting that the data there seems to have be at the bottom of my pile, which was in reality covered up. At this point, the data there only suggests that we only got about 300 billion to get there for another basically 4 months of exports at this point. And so we only need to have sales of 16.8 million to get to the USDA, and we've been running. Oh, geez, this week we had a 60 million number. So exports could still actually be a little higher than the USDA's number, but ethanol could easily be up to 50 to 75. There won't be any changes in feed usage for old crop. The old crop carryover stock is still going to probably stay above 2 billion. on corn. It's going to be a non. I think there is some potential changes in feed usage, though. I think we've seen some data coming out in the previous reports that could suggest that the crop last year was overestimated, but that's not going to be a factor in this estimate because that won't be adjusted until we see the June 30th report in early July. So that's an area. Beans, interesting scenario there. They only need to average 6.4 million per week. Uh, we have those slipped down pretty dramatically here. We were under 10 billion this week on sales on things on wheat, or excuse me, on soybeans. So I think that's I'm not sure we're going to see any adjustments in the old crop scenario on beans. From there, the wheat number, as I said, will be adjusted because of the size of the crop, which I think will have some strong nod of the head here towards winter wheat crop balances being down, and that will take this 900 million, 930 million number we have currently for new crop down to. So, but as I said, the S&D numbers uh, are just getting their act together. The one interesting thing about the world numbers, we will get to see some of this reduction that we've seen in plantings and yield opportunities around the world. Wheat's carryover stock internationally will probably come down. There's early expectations will be down at least 7 to 8 million down in Australia and also Argentina for the coming year on their wheat crops. And of course, the Black Sea, though, there's indications that Russia's going to have a pretty solid crop over there. Kind of same thing, not spectacular, but a okay crop in Ukraine and in we've had some ups and downs on Europe, but it looks like they're kind of the middle of the road this year. So internationally, the longer term is looking nice and be lower because of reduced seedings because before this recent price increase that spurred on some things here from the US.
So, do you think that right now is a good time to sell?
Well, I think the definitely uh, uh, the wheat side of things is definitely very volatile in that, but I would definitely uh, market some old crop wheat here and get it done, and even sneak in and make a say a 10 to 15% sale on new crop wheat. Corn and soybeans, I haven't been much of a seller on these things. I've been trying to get up into this current price levels. So we got there late this week, so I've recommended on my update there to on the radio to go ahead and get uh, corn sales in the 70 to 75% level, and probably in the beans up there closer to 80, 85 on things. Another 10 or 15, 20%, depending on where you're at. And that next week could be interesting. We could see a pullback. With this commentary from President Trump that the war is over. I don't know that it is, but at the same time, the markets uh, once you get past or once you get into May and there's any break in the clouds out there, the producers out there start to make sure they get this stuff planted. So we're going to have to watch these U.S. planting progress. But I would definitely market some stuff here early this week and just have some minor sales to take care of either later in May or maybe we'll have to go all the way to July, but I don't think so. But right now, we've had a decent recovery in prices, so this is probably a place to get some marketing done and see what happens in Washington and in the Mid East.
All right, thank you.
Take care.
If you made it this far, this is for you. If you want deeper insights into how agriculture, geopolitics, and global markets actually connect, subscribe to the Geopolitics Report on Substack. That's where I go beyond the headlines, breaking down the strategies, risks, and shifts shaping the global food system. Subscribe and stay ahead. Thank